Winsted, Connecticut. Home Sweet Home. Home Sweet Home is based on a Sicilian melody. Be it ever so humble, there is no place like home. This is Brian O'Haron, Make Winsted Great Again, episode 13. Thank you for joining me. This program will be divided into 4 portions tonight for different audiences. The first portion will be a tribute to the famous Cheyenne Indian musician Joseph Firecrow, who died recently at the age of 58. And then the new Trump Winsted party that I set up over the last few weeks with the state and the town. It's now legal. We'll be on the ballot in November, and I'll be running on that ticket. The third part will be about other people running in various parties and what that might mean. The fourth part will be about a recent very, very bad mistake by the Board of Selectmen to approve a plan to draw down the water at Highland Lake to only 6.5 feet instead of the customary 8 feet that they used to do once every 5 years. Prior to that, it was almost 11 feet in some years. Stick with us if you want to hear more about that, because you think you have the need to draw the water down 8 feet to fix your walls in the future. Don says he falls asleep during my program, so I'm going to ring this bell a few times tonight to keep him awake. Wake up, Don. Wake up, Don. Wake up, Don. As promised, there will be a lot of good news tonight. A lot of good news indeed, because the Trump Winsted party has been established at the local level in Winsted, approved by the state. And I will be running for selectman on the Trump Winsted ticket in November. But before we go into that, I want to spend some time talking about Joseph Firecrow, a Winsted resident. Last week I did mention him, but I didn't have time to do it properly, so I'm doing it again tonight. Joseph Firecrow was very well known in Cheyenne Indian circles. He made flutes, he wrote music, he recorded music, he played music all over the world, and was very well known. He passed away recently at the age of 58, and tonight I want to play one song that he wrote and recorded on an album called Night Walk. The song is called Where the Land, and I want to tell a little story about how I met Joseph Firecrow. Where the Land, written and played by Joseph Firecrow. In addition to Ralph Nader, one of the most famous Winsted residents known in many countries throughout the world. Many years ago, after we retired and moved to Highland Lake in Winsted, Connecticut, a cottage we've owned since 1974 or so, I was here alone one week when Joyce traveled up to Maine to be with our grandchildren and our daughter and her husband. And we had a great storm in this area, knocked the power out for about 6 days. So I was here running around cleaning up, trying to help, and I had to go down to Torrington to get some gas from a truck top of East Main Street. I went there, I got the gas, and while there I dropped into a local restaurant and I ordered a big sandwich. The sandwich was much too big for me, so I turned around and I gave half the sandwich to a gentleman and his wife sitting at a nearby table. That gentleman turned out to be Joseph Firecrow. After I gave him half of my sandwich and went back to eat my half, his wife, Joanne Moore, a Winsted resident who lived on Lovely Street, around the corner and up the road from my great-grandfather McGrain's house at 77 Pratt Street, came up to me and handed me a DVD as a thank you. I didn't know that was Joseph Firecrow. I had never seen him before. But she gave me a DVD and thanked me for giving her husband half of my sandwich. Later, as we were leaving the building, I talked to Joseph Firecrow and asked him if he knew my friend, Billy Mills. Billy Mills was a Lakota Sioux that I went to school with at Kansas University before he became famous, and it was my friend. He eventually joined the Marines and won the 10,000-meter race in the Tokyo Olympic Games. A movie was made about him called Running Brave. You can still see that if you Google Running Brave. Joseph said that he also knew Billy Mills. He met him in his travels with his flute and his music through Indian territories. Although he was from North Dakota, Billy was from Oklahoma. But I also told him that there was an Indian school in Lawrence, Kansas, where Kansas University was, called Haskell. And many Indians from many tribes around many states came into Lawrence, Kansas. One of them was Billy Mills, and they went to high school at Haskell. Billy was recruited to Kansas because they had a great track team at the time and had won 2 or 3 United States championships. Had a lot of good track men there. So he knew Billy, and we reminisced a bit. That was the last I ever saw of Joseph Firecrow. His relatives live in the area, his wife and his mother-in-law and other relatives. But he's Cheyenne, from North Dakota. Although he has lived in other states, and I think he went to Brigham Young University. Rest in peace, Joseph Firecrow. Rest in peace. Maybe I'll run into you again someday. When I was at Kansas University, and I was meeting many of the Haskell Indian students from all over the Midwest, and some that were attending Kansas University, such as Billy Mills, they said that if I was an Indian, my Indian name would be He Who Flies by Instrument. And the reason they said that was because I was always trying to plan for success and get things done. So they said I would be called He Who Flies by Instruments. That would be my Indian name. Now we're back to Make Winsted Great Again. As I said at the beginning of the program, to those who only watch for 4 or 5 minutes each time, Trump Winsted is now an official party locally and approved at the state level. I will be running on the Trump Winsted ticket in November. I have filled out papers to support my own candidacy, just like Donald Trump did when he was running for office, in my attempts to get elected to the finance board in our town. As everybody will tell you, I have to run for selectman because that's what's on the ticket in November. That's what I'm running for, selectman. But the selectmen are also the Board of Finance in our town. And I'm really interested in being on the Board of Finance for many reasons. The most important of which is, we have a terrible finance board, in my opinion. We want to get a much stronger finance board, and we want to keep a strong finance board. So I won't be voting on many what we would call selectmen decisions, whether we move a wastebasket from one room to the other or not. In town hall, I'll be trying to deal with making Winsted great again by helping to enact the 11 or so planks in the universal platform that I've developed for the new Trump-Winsted local party and all other candidates to consider running on in the November election. Since all the paperwork for the Trump-Winsted party, local party, has been agreed by the town and the state, I am now starting to spend some of my own money. I have bought many bumper stickers that I will be distributing around town that say, Trump Winsted, make Winsted great again. These bumper stickers will be distributed throughout Winsted and perhaps some of the surrounding areas. In September or so, perhaps mid-September, I will be putting up signs. Trump Winsted in November, make Winsted great again, vote for the Trump Winsted ticket. And as you may know, if you had watched previous episodes of this program, Make Winsted Great Again, I've also made many promises, I think there were about 10, maybe there'll be more before November, of how I will behave if elected and accept the election results. If elected, on the coattails of Donald Trump's popularity in last year's presidential election, where he won 1.6 votes in our area for every one vote for Hillary Clinton, as I have been told by Town Hall. Just about everything that was on Donald Trump's platform when he ran for the presidency and the promises he made about his deportment once elected are also problems that need to be resolved in Winsted, Connecticut. Now, nobody else seems to have a platform with planks that are public information and promises that they will make prior to the election on how they will behave once elected, if elected. We do have a platform, the Trump Winsted Party. We have a platform, and we have a set of promises to go with it. We'll make that available to anybody who wants to see it. They can ask us questions about it. They can debate it. They can consider it themselves. You can ask all the candidates what they think about all the planks and promises. They can ask us questions about it. They can debate it. They can consider it themselves. You can ask all the candidates what they think about all the planks and promises in the Trump Winsted Party platform and set of promises, and get a lot of the truth out in the open before the election. So what I'm trying to do here is get everybody who voted for Donald Trump in our town that's eligible to vote in this election in November, some aren't, many are, to vote for the Trump Winsted Party, and send a message to the selectmen and leaders in this town and the poor finance board. Although we do have a better finance department now, the finance board still needs a lot of help. Send them a message. Send them a strong message that the things in this platform, the universal platform for Winsted that I have recommended, and the rules of promises of deportment that I have suggested that we will follow, they should also follow. Maybe they'll get the message, maybe they won't. But it'll be a good try. And that's what democracies are all about. You have to have both sides of the story. Our Republican Party is now mostly liberal and leans towards the left of the normal distribution curve. Our Democratic Party certainly is very liberal, extremely so, and leans to the left of the normal distribution curve. The Trump-Winsted Party platform and promises is conservative and leans more to the center and right of the normal distribution curve. So it will give you some balance. For those of you who voted for Donald Trump in last November's presidential election, then you should vote for the Trump-Winsted Party in Winsted this election. That will send a strong message to our town leaders on how our town thinks about the way they want to be governed. If the Trump-Winsted Party gets trounced in the November election, then we'll have business as usual for a long time to come. We'll have somebody on the board who can't vote on 65% of our budget, the schools. We'll have 2 educators on the board, and we'll have some brand new neophytes on the board, most of whom have never run a company and had to meet a payroll like John Dewan did for 37 years. So, as Donald Trump said when he was running for the presidency, we've got to think big. We've got to think big, like the Trump-Winsted platform does, and the Trump-Winsted promises do. We must think big. We must spread the word, as Donald Trump said. We must spread the word. We'll do it a little differently than he did it, but we hope to be as effective. The first thing we're going to have, of course, is my program, and that's been on for many, many, many months now, one way or another. I'm not going to be running a high-profile campaign with an office downtown, as the Democrats and Republicans often do, or a big picture on the top of a building downtown, as the Democrats often do. This will be a low-profile approach. Depends a lot on following in the coattails of Donald Trump and in his election last November. If successful, it will make a big difference for Winsted, hopefully, especially if some people with business experience get elected and many who don't have business experience don't get elected. You can tell, listen to them, ask other people for advice, and then vote the way you think best for the town of Winchester, city of Winsted, in November. I'm not running on name recognition. I'm not running with other members of my family elected to other positions. I'm not running on an ego trip. I don't want fame. I like fortune, but I'm not after fame. I think I can help the town realize that when it voted for Trump 1.6 to 1, it did the right thing. It should do the same for Winsted by voting for Trump-Winsted in November. You can start to spread the word right now by asking for a bumper sticker. I'll give away as many as I can around town and the area to help spread the word. We must spread the word. Let's get everybody thinking about Trump-Winsted. Let's get everybody asking, what is Trump-Winsted? Let's get everybody talking about Trump-Winsted and its universal platform and list of promises that the Trump-Winsted Party is making. Let's get that spread around. Let's get it spread around. It starts with the bumper stickers. Once we get all those distributed around town and the area, It'll be time in mid-September to start putting up signs, yard signs. A lot of people have asked already for a yard sign. A lot of people have asked for a bumper sticker. So between now and the next program in a couple weeks, I'll be distributing the bumper stickers, and hopefully we'll be spreading the word around to get the Trump Winsted party into everyone's mind, into everyone asking questions. What is the Trump Winsted party? Who's running for office on the Trump Winsted party? Right now, I'm the only one. I don't think anybody else will. And again, if I get elected, that'll send a strong message to the town senior management, no matter who gets into office, a strong message. And if there's not a team elected that I think can help me with the platform and the promises that we're making in the Trump Winsted party, then I'll probably resign and let somebody else continue in my place and hope the town gets the message that the Trump Winsted party leaves in the voting booths. So far, from what I see in the local newspapers, the Democrats have put together pretty much the same team as they have now, with one exception. And for the exception, they have chosen to go with name recognition. John Grappo's daughter. John Grappo was very well known, very good man. He was a conservative Democrat who ran a business and owned the business. Just before he died, I asked him if he would go to the very liberal Democratic Town Committee and try to advise them to be more conservative, to help grow the grand list, and to balance our costs. He was about 92 at the time, maybe 91. I saw him down at McDonald's early one morning. And he said, "Brian, they won't listen to me. They won't listen to me." Now, his daughter is running on the Democratic ticket, mainly because she has name recognition, in my opinion. She might have some other good points. Ask her a lot of questions about the Trump Winsted platform and its promises of how it will behave if I'm elected. See what she has to say, and then judge for yourself. The Republicans have announced 5 novice contenders who may be good or bad, we don't know. Once again, put them through the ringer. Ask them about every point in the Trump Winsted platform. Ask them for their views and ideas. Ask them what their platform is, besides getting along with the Democrats and conducting business as usual, which is basically what I read in the paper about their platform. So ask them a lot of questions when the debates. Ask them a lot of questions when you see them, when they knock on your door. Ask them a lot of questions when they stand in front of the town hall, hand out papers, and ask for your vote. Ask them a lot of questions. And spread the word. Spread the word when you get a good idea of what they have to offer, which in my view is not much, except business as usual. And it's going to take us a long time, a long, long time to resolve our problems if we continue business as usual. The Independent Party has not yet announced any candidates. I'm told they're leaning towards the Democratic Party this year. That may or may not be true. We'll find out soon enough. And they may have some candidates and they may not. We can look at them, ask them the same kind of questions. If they put forward some candidates, ask them what their platform is. Ask them how they're going to promise to conduct business. Ask them to tell you what they think of the Trump-Winsted platform. Of course, they're all going to be trying to get along with each other, and that's admirable. But it's not necessarily going to solve the problem. To solve the problem, we need to stand tall. We need to disagree on a lot of things, but make a lot of big decisions. Big decisions that will affect the platform in a positive manner. We must grow the grand list. We must manage the school costs. We must do a lot of things that are listed in the platform. We must follow the charter or get it changed. We must follow the state statutes or get them changed. We must be very transparent so that the need for FOI is minimal. There are many things that have to be done, and you'll have your chance to question all these people. Again, as they knock on your door, as you see them around town in meetings, as you listen to them in the debates and have the chance to ask a question or two. That's usually kind of tough because they tend to pick a moderator that they can manage. But spread the word. Pay attention. Try to understand what each person's platform is, how they intend to behave if they are elected to office. Try to get all that information before you vote for them. If in doubt, vote for Trump-Winsted. Because we have a platform. We have a list of promises of how we will behave if elected. And we're also telling you that once elected, if we don't think we have a chance to accomplish anything, we'll probably drop out and let somebody else, the next highest vote getter or whatever, and sit on the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Board. That won't help the town any. Won't help the town at all. But if that's what the voters choose, then so be it. They'll have to live with it for 5, 10, 15, maybe 20 years. And that's a long time. A long time for your children. A long time for your grandchildren. Maybe even some of your great-grandchildren. Your cousins, your friends, your brothers and sisters, etc., etc. It's a long time. I now want to switch subjects for a little while because there's a big problem happening at Highland Lake now. The Water Level Committee, or Commission, I can never remember whether it's a committee or a commission, wants to drop the 8-foot drawdown at Highland Lake. That happens once every 5 years or so, historically. Not necessarily recently, but historically. And that drawdown of 8 feet is needed to help people who are going to fix their walls over time because the ice keeps banging into them in the wintertime and destroying them. Now, on the lake, if you lose any of your property because the water washes it away from waves, boat waves, or anything else like that, you can't replace it. So people build walls to protect their property from the ice and the boat waves washing away the land. There's a long story here. I've been watching it now for 43 years. But many people need the 8-foot drawdown. Now, when I watched the selectmen meeting, there were some reasons given. But before I tell you what these reasons are, I want to remind you once again that I was president and chief operating officer of Grundy Environmental Systems in San Diego, California. I was part owner as well for 7 years. We supply water quality instrumentation all over the world to Jacques Cousteau, to limnologists around the world, to all kinds of people, military operations that study the water down to 4 miles of depth, oceanographers, that kind of thing. So I know quite a bit about it. When I first got back to Winsted, when I retired, nobody knew I knew that. So they tried to tell me that rocks fall up. They tried to tell me things were bad for the lake that perhaps aren't. Now, as I studied things from time to time over the last 13 years, I found that usually the limnologists agree with me. They said the development on the 666 acres would not hurt the lake, wouldn't hurt the Canavo Spring, and it wouldn't hurt the wells around the lake. Our limnologist agreed with them. They did want to have measuring devices put around just in case, and that was all agreed to. So I want to tell you that if people don't get an 8-foot drawdown, as they said at the selectmen meeting, they will have to spend more money to fix their walls when there's water is too high and not low enough for them to do it properly. This will cost quite a bit more money. It will hurt the values of the property on the lake, devalue them most likely, not increase their value, but devalue them. Hence, eventually, the taxes that the town will get from those properties. Now, one of the reasons given was that, well, 5 years ago or so, when they had an 8-foot drawdown, they checked to see how many people did work, and they found not many. Now, there are a couple of reasons for that they didn't disclose. One reason is that we had a crash in '08, and not many people were spending money to fix their walls after the crash when the market tumbled down and the values dropped. The other reason is that when we have an 8-foot drawdown, it's very difficult to get enough masons to do the work. A lot of them say we don't even want to work on the lake. It's too difficult, too hard to get permits, too much scrutiny, too much intervention. And they say, well, we really don't even want to work there. Others will say they can, but there's only so many masons. It's in the middle of the winter. It's very difficult. So I think that's a bad decision by the Water Level Committee. I think somebody should do like I did many years ago and come up with a petition. I'm not going to do it this time because I'm too busy doing other things and trying to ease out of that kind of thing. But somebody should get together all the people on the lake that need the 8-foot drawdown, get them to do a petition to the Board of Selectmen, or whoever they have to do it to say why they need the 8-foot drawdown. Now, there are other options. They're not as good, but if somebody has to pay a lot of extra money to do their walls, repair their walls, to protect their property, when the lake is only down 6.5 feet, and perhaps they should be reimbursed from their property taxes that year. That's one thing. The other thing they can do is they can go out and they can ask everybody around the lake when will they need an 8-foot drawdown. And then they can arrange an 8-foot drawdown when they think the most people can take advantage of it. Now remember though, it's still hard to get masons. That's one of the biggest problems. It's still in the winter. That's another one of the biggest problems. The other thing that they said at the selectmen meeting, if I understood them properly, was that the littoral rights, everybody's entitled to them. Well, my view is the people that have to have 8-foot drawdowns that we've been having for 100 years or so, sporadically, they're entitled to it too. They're entitled to the littoral rights just like everybody else is in the coves or around the lake, or people that don't have that. Now, I do know people on the west side anyway that have 14, 15 feet of water in front of their property at the water's edge. Even the 8-foot drawdown didn't help them too much, a little bit maybe. But this needs to be looked into, so anybody who lives on the lake and is interested in having and maintaining and keeping the 8-foot drawdowns, present it to them and try to get the situation under control. And from my view, the presentation at the selectmen meeting, and you can see it when it's repeated on television, channel 194, was one-sided. as it always is when you deal with lake issues. The liberals are in charge. They'll do things the way they want to do it. There's not enough people on the lake that pay attention, that want to lead the effort to put a petition together and present it to the Board of Selectmen. I've been doing it for 13 years, and I'm 80 now, and I don't want to do it anymore. Somebody else has to take over, and I suggest that you spread the word around the lake about the 8-foot drawdown being diminished to 6.5 feet, increasing the expense to do any work for those who need more than 6.5 feet to fix their walls. Not good. Not good at all. Not a balanced decision. So I'm asking you to help. I'm asking you to help. Spread the word about this 8-foot drawdown and the problems it will cause people on the lake with their valuations if they need 8-foot drawdowns to help restore their walls, retaining walls, to keep the water from washing away the land and wrecking their property. So spread the word, especially people on the lake. People in town, it's important to you too. The selectmen shouldn't be making these kind of decisions without checking with the folks on the lake to see what their point of view is. We need balanced decisions. That's what Trump's Winsted is going to do for you. We're going to try to balance the decisions, although we won't always win because we won't always have the majority, but we will try our best, make sure the word gets out, make sure everybody has a chance to be heard. That's called transparency. And in business, it's called forcing all the problems out into the open at the earliest stage of system development to save time, money, and people's rights. Well, we've got about 10 minutes to go here, so I'm just going to reiterate that the Trump Winsted Party is now formed with state approval and town approval. We will be on the ballot. I don't know where we'll be on the ballot. We'll have to wait until they choose positions later in the year, closer towards the election. I don't think we'll be number one. Probably end up being 3 or 4. And don't forget that Todd Archulowski, a Republican who is not being backed by his party in the next election, is running as a petitioning candidate. He already has permission. He should be on the ballot. Keep him in mind. And I think there's probably one person in the Republican Party that probably I may vote for. And there's one person, I think, in the Democratic Party that I might vote for. Maybe towards the election, I'll name these people. And then we'll see who else is running. Maybe the Independent Party will run some people. Maybe they'll have somebody good. If they do, we'll be able to scrutinize that. But start asking questions. Learn what our platform is. The Trump Winsted platform. Get a bumper sticker and put it on your car or truck or boat or whatever you want. Your house, your windows, whatever. We'll get the signs going in the middle of September or so. We'll get those around town. And just keep spreading the word, thinking big. And let's hope that over time we can get enough people that voted for Donald Trump last year in the presidential election to vote for us in November, the Trump Winsted Party, one candidate, me, to send a message to the town leaders, no matter who wins, that we want to have a good, transparent government that tries to follow the general purpose platform as much as possible, to think big, to spread the word, to grow the grand list, to cut the spending in the schools, just like most towns and cities are trying to do throughout the country, etc., etc., etc. And to be transparent, and to follow the charter, and to follow the state regulations, whatever they may be. Listen to people. Try to treat the customers, the taxpayers in the town are the customers, and the non-taxpayers too. Listen to everybody. Try to treat them fairly. Don't do anything like is just happening with this Highland Lake water drawdown situation. We don't need to hear one side of the story at the select meeting. We'd like to hear a balanced view of the whole thing. We want everybody's viewpoint. So once again, if somebody comes around with a petition, I think it takes about 25 votes to go to either the selectmen or I guess the Wetlands Commission that I was on for 3 years at one time. Got 25 signatures, you can go there and ask for a public hearing and then get everybody around the lake who needs an 8-foot drawdown to come to the public hearing like we did 10 years ago or so and express their viewpoints. We won big then, we can win big again. It's just a question of everybody understanding what's going on, getting the facts, get the facts correctly. And the best thing you can do here now is vote for the Trump-Winsted party. Everybody who voted for Donald Trump should vote for the Trump-Winsted party to send a message to these future leaders that will be coming into office after they're voted in November on the Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance, that we in the town mean business. We mean business. Yes, once again, we mean business. No more business as usual. No more dealing with the small issues and avoiding the large issues. We need a good, balanced Board of Finance to help support our good town manager, Bob Geiger, as long as he's here, and to help us choose a new good town manager that will get things done in the same manner that Bob is. I was told recently that he got, with the help of the owners of the property, the last working owners of the pin shop to clean up their property to residential standards. And they're doing that now. You drive up there, you can see it all. They're going to clean up that old pin shop property. Now, what I say is, well, why didn't the other town managers over the last 30 years do the same thing? Well, they weren't of Bob's caliber. They weren't MBAs from Harvard who worked all over the world trying to clean up factories in many countries and get things moving again. He's the right guy. But my guess is, when he leaves, for one reason or another, we'll probably get another lemon. They give you all reasons why the lemons, how they did a good job doing this, doing that. But when you're a CEO or a COO, you have to deal with all issues. You can't just say, well, he dealt with the financial issues and he found a crook in the town, blah, blah, blah. What you got to say is, they got to do things in parallel. While we're finding the crooks in town, we should be cleaning up these big properties. We should be getting them sold and getting them on the tax rolls. The 663 acres, the 100 acres up near the hospital, the 100 acres that we own up in back of the old Gilbert property, etc., etc., etc. There's plenty that can be done. Vote Trump Winsted. Get a sticker. Put it on your car or truck. Let's all move ahead. Let's all move ahead. Now I'll show you a picture of the bumper sticker until we get to the credits at the end of the program. That's 2 or 3 minutes from now. Thank you for watching tonight. I'll ring the bell once more to keep Don awake. And now I'll show the bumper stickers. Thank you for sticking it out. For those of you who did tonight, I know it isn't easy, but I'll see you again soon as we get closer and closer to making Winsted great again by voting properly in the November election and hopefully getting most of the candidates to agree to stick to the universal platform and planks that I have put together and received feedback on from many, many people around town and the state. Good night, Brian O'Hearn. Please help to make Winsted great again in the November election.